All right. So I'm live and I'm here giving my opinion as a person who has been limitedly within the culture war for a long portion of my life, or been aware of it since a long portion of my life. And there are a few observations that I kind of want to bring to the table. Uh, Richard Dreyfuss has been in hot water because he has talked about the Oscars diversity quota. And things like this, not only diversity quota, but the form of censorship and the stories that they talk about have always been rather one-sided. The news that they talk about has been largely one-sided, and both Hollywood, legacy media, and social media have made both America and the West systematically racist against whites. And it's basically, it's a condemning of whites. It's any time that uh, there are any forms of crimes that are done against whites, the left has been successful in the weaponization of offense, and this is largely an economic war. Sorry, there is one person in the chat board. The only reason I'm not speaking to anyone on the chat board is I don't want to distract myself. I will talk to this person later, by the way, but I don't want to distract myself right now in the things that I want to say. So again, the mainstream media, legacy media, has been largely responsible for this, and social media has followed suit. Now, when social media first came into vogue, there were people on there that were discussing things that went against the mainstream narrative. And instead of saying this is new, and instead of the legacy media and the powers that be saying this is new information, we might want to look into it, or even, well, we need to debunk this. It was, we just need to censor it. And the first form of censorship was that of hate speech, which is a rather arbitrary term. It's kind of like, what's the other term that you cannot define on? Now I don't know the exact obscenity. Obscenity and hate speech are both, or seem to be both, rather arbitrary terms. Hate speech is a term that is primarily, systematically against whites. They will strive to marginalize certain things that are said and certain things that are done, and whites are held up to different standards as far as what they are and are not allowed to say. And there are certain depictions, particularly in cinema, that you would never get away with doing. And again, we seem to have recreated history several times within cinema. And you'd think at some point we would get to the truth, but the powers that be never want truth. They never want reality. And they now say that even debating someone they disagree with is too dangerous. It's too toxic to discuss certain subjects because it could, for whatever reason, I guess they think that maybe Jefferson Davis or Hitler is going to rise from the grave or some other stupid thing like that. It's some of the most absurd things are will be blamed. People who have a different opinion than the mainstream will be blamed because one unhinged lunatic goes nuts. Of course, if an unhinged lunatic goes nuts on the other side, they just kind of ignore it, or they just downplay it. They upplay one thing and they downplay the other. The perfect example of that, by the way, is the choking out of I believe he was a homeless man, by a former Marine, and yeah, it shows a form of systematic racism against whites, because had this been a black man doing it to a white man, we all know that this would not have happened. I mean, the protest would not have happened. And there are instances of white on black crime and white on black murder, I mean, black on white murder, that the mainstream media will not even talk about or touch. And they try to defame things, or even post lies. As I recall, Colin Flaherty, I believe on his Wikipedia, he was accused of putting things out that was, that he had posted something in America that was actually Australia, and that turned out not to be, from my understanding, not to be true. And they never even delved too much into the merits of the case. And of course, Jesse Smollett, they can have several hate crime hoaxes, but that never gets any play. And you see anyone with eyes who is aware knows the double standards and knows that these people don't want to debate you. So winning on the debate stage is not the key. This is an economic war. What you do is you boycott. And now I'm seeing, good heavens, what's going on here? Connection to Wi-Fi. Okay, so it's back on. I was off for a little bit, but the main thing is that you're going to be marginalized if you go against the narrative, if you go against the establishment narrative, which is controlled by the woke left. And I defined woke as moral authoritarianism disguised as virtue. And they're pretending they're virtuous when they're anything but. When you weaponize offense, and if you talk about certain crimes and they say it's too dangerous to talk about such a thing, then yeah, not good, But of course, they're going to defame you. They'll try to economically destroy you. And my thing is, we're going to do a walk against the woke, but and hopefully there'll be people showing up. The thing is, be there economically, be there for the boycotts, because I think that is powerful. If you hit them in the pocketbook saying we're not going to spend money on things that lie and things that do not allow due process. And due process shouldn't just be for a court of law. It should be for any time there's punitive action, whenever that is humanly possible. And the manner in which these leftists behave is really awful, and they just name call you and all the rest. So again, boycotting, knowing when to have a discussion, and knowing when to back off when the conversation is going nowhere is one of the keys. And Roy and I have been looking into different methods that we can do to have constructive conversations, but also knowing when to shut those conversations off because they're going nowhere. And these people are very punitive, and they will try to destroy you, first economically and also physically. So we're in dangerous times right now. We're in times where people are afraid to speak their mind. And hopefully we get to a point where people can have honest conversations and even have hard truths and let the chips fall where they may. This has been Brian with Transparency and Merit and Walk Against the Woke. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thank you, Angela, also for listening. I will talk to you later. I've been very tired lately. So anyway, guys, Walk Against the Woke. We're hoping to do more things with it. and hopefully we'll have even a march on Washington would be my dream, and just having this culture war really brought to light in the behavior of the left and what is allowed to be getting what people are allowed to get away with, and in a fight against the establishment. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, even share this video if there's anything that you agree with. Thank you for listening.